Hello and welcome to Humboldt Kitchen. Today we're doing some fermentations. I'm going to start with apple cider vinegar, and then I'm going to move on to fire cider, and then we've got some kefir grains, both milk and water. So let's get started. I've got about 5 apples here. I've already cut them up. I've cored them because we don't want the seeds in. I'll just fill my jar. This is so simple. Now with apple cider vinegar, you can hurry the process by putting some sugar with it, or just the spring water. Today I am going to add some sugar. About 1/3 of a cup. I'll fill this with some spring water. You can use tap water, but I suggest that you boil it and then let it cool down to room temperature before using it to eliminate the chlorine in the water. And now all we do is put a filter on this. This is a coffee filter, and I'm going to borrow this rubber band. The rubber band. Oops, forgot my weight. A weight right here to get the apples down below the water line. And you don't have to do this. You can actually stir them a couple of times a day. Just move them around so that they stay wet. Put a little bit more water in that. And it's wise to put a dish underneath it, because when in a few days it starts bubbling up, it can overflow and then you have a mess, so you can catch it. It'll start bubbling in about 3 days. So just cover it. And like this, you'll just stir it a couple of times a day. With a weight, if you put a weight in there and hold the apples down below the water line, all you do is just set it aside and forget about it for 2 weeks. And I'll just set this over here. Next, we're going to make fire cider with the apple cider vinegar that I made last August. Now, apple cider is aerobic. That means it needs oxygen to ferment. And the sugar becomes alcohol, and then it draws the wild yeast out of the air and changes it to vinegar. But fire cider is anaerobic. So I will put the herbs and fruits and cinnamon and root in here and fill this with the apple cider vinegar and close it up. And it takes about 6 weeks. So here I have some rosemary, which is really good for the skin and the memory, your hair, your digestion. And we're not measuring anything. We're just going to fill the jar with a bunch of this. Here's some thyme. Lots of thyme. Oregano. And sage. cinnamon stick. Limes. And it doesn't matter how thick or thin you slice it. You're saving yourself a lot of money making your own fire cider. Now I've got 3 habaneros here, and I'm just going to slice them open like that in a couple of places, because I don't like to get this on my hands. It always seems to end up in my eyes. So that's it for that. Some lemon. Now this is a simple fire cider recipe. There's so many things that you can put in it. Cranberries, elderberries, hibiscus. I use hibiscus flowers sometimes. But these are the ingredients that I always put in. Sometimes I do extra. This here is turmeric root. You can get all these ingredients at the co-op in Eureka or Arcata. And I recommend organic. Ginger, lots of ginger, great for digestion. And these are also anti-inflammatories. And in fact, I call this my anti-inflammatory fire cider. I cut the dry ends off the ginger. It'll be very spicy, and I suggest when it's done that you start out with a tablespoon. I normally make about 10 gallons of this at a time, because I give it to family and friends, and we drink about 2 ounces of it a day, each of us. This is horseradish. It also adds some heat. And this one's quite dry. A little tough. My dog's barking. She has to be next to me all the time. Okay. Now I'll just fill it with my apple cider vinegar that I made back in August. I'm just going to shake it up to get some mother in there. Take and bruise it. Close it up. You can set this in your pantry, on your counter. I'm just going to set it over here on the counter, out of the way. And next we're going to move on to our water kefir. And most of you have probably seen kefir in the stores. They sell it at the co-op and Winco, Safeway. And it's a milk kefir, which kind of tastes like yogurt. But this is water kefir, and it's quite different. It doesn't get that sour taste. It always tastes a little bit sweet. And kids really like it. It's a good alternative to soda. So I'm going to strain this off. See these grains, spread them out here, they kind of look like little rocks. They're very soft, they break easy. And again, this is aerobic. It draws the wild yeast out of the air. And so all this takes is spring water or distilled water and sugar. So I'm going to put half a cup of sugar in this half-gallon jar. And stir it up to dissolve. You'll see it clear up. We'll put these back in there. And if you want to take a break from these, if you're making too much or you're going on vacation or something, just put your jar in the refrigerator and it will slow it down and be fine until you get back. Just start it with fresh water and sugar and then just store it in your fridge. Okay. Okay, and then again, just do this and set it on my counter. And then I take this liquid and put it in another clean jar. See if I can do this without spilling. And now I'm going to add some fruit to it and let it sit for another 3 days. And what the fruit does is it causes another action. It causes it to get fizzy like soda. You could put a slice of orange in it. Some strawberries in it. Without the fruit, it'll just be slightly sweet water, but it's packed with probiotics. This is a really good treat for kids as it gets fizzy. It's like soda. And I'll just put filter on it, hold it on with a rubber band. I don't have my rubber bands here. Hold it on with a rubber band and let it sit for 3 days, and you'll start to see it, the bubbles coming up on it. And that's when it's ready, and it's delicious. Also, the nice thing about the water kefir grains is you can use straight apple juice, and within 3 days it is carbonated and ready to drink. And it's still sweet, but it's not as sweet as because it consumes the sugar. Next, we're going to do the kefir grains, and these are a little more work, but well worth it. And this is very versatile. It's sour, like plain yogurt. And I've used it in place of buttermilk in recipes. I've used it in making cheesecake, quiche, in place of sour cream. So use this one here. But like I said, it's a little more work. And these grains, you see this kind of looks like cottage cheese. The grains in here, all the milk that you put in collects around the grains, and so it gets really thick and separates at the bottom. I don't know if you can see this, but at the bottom it looks like there's some water in there. That's the whey, and I'll mix that up. If I want something that's more the consistency of yogurt or sour cream, I'll drain the whey off and just use the kefir. And so what I'm doing here is I'm pushing the kefir through and keeping the grains separate. And normally I would rinse these off with water, but today, and you don't have to, you can put them, you can press the kefir out and just put them in another clean jar and add your milk. And in less than 24 hours, you'll have another batch of kefir. So I rinse mine so that it takes longer. Otherwise, I'd have kefir coming out of my ears. And they like whole milk. And you can use goat's milk. So I'll take this. Put it in another clean jar. And the kefir makes wonderful smoothies. We blend it with strawberries or bananas or pineapple, and I like to put a little whey protein in it for like a breakfast if I'm in a hurry. I got things to do and I don't have time to cook breakfast. But the kids love it. And I freeze some of it in an ice cube tray to give to my dogs. And my son gets it for his dogs too. Very good for your dogs. Aids in digestion. Now you can see the watery stuff is the way. And you can eat the grains. They're these little creamy white, gelatinous, some of them look like little tiny cauliflower florets. Very spongy. You don't want it to go more than 3 days. And in the summertime, less time before you need to refrigerate it, because the warmer the weather, the faster it works, and then the faster you have to get it in the fridge. At the wintertime, it usually sits on my counter for 3 days. I like to get all of these. Oh, you see what I just did? See me when I'm peeling apples and I end up with the peels in the bowl with the apples. And you don't want to fill it all the way up because it swells. And so this is going to end up coming up like this here before it's ready. I just give it a stir. Put the coffee filter on it. Rubber band, and set it aside on the counter. And these here I will put in the freezer for the dogs. And then tomorrow morning I'll blend this with some fruit, probably the strawberries. And you can see when I'm pouring, it looks like there's lumps. It's just some of it's thicker than. And speaking of freezing, when you blend this with the fruit and add honey to sweeten it, it makes wonderful popsicles for your kids in the summertime, or anytime really. Very healthy treat for them. This I'll refrigerate till in the morning, and this I will put in the freezer. And there you have it. To your health. Thank you.